It's been almost a month since the new Apple TV 4K launched, and if you're someone that's been on the sidelines waiting for it, I really think this is the year that you should go all in for it. In this video, I'm going to discuss the specs, the TV operating system, and of course a Siri remote as well. The new Apple TV 4K comes wrapped in a slick, minimal black box that looks really clean and simple. This year, they actually even removed the TV logo from the box, so it looks even more clean than the previous models. On the back, you have an HDMI 2.1 port, an AC adapter port, and also an Ethernet port if you spring that extra $20 and go for that model. Which, by the way, I think everybody pretty much should. If you're considering to spend this amount of money on a TV box anyway, the Ethernet port, the 128 gigs of storage that you get bumped up to, and the thread support are really worth it. The thread support, by the way, is really helpful if you're someone that's trying to build a whole smart home with all your devices. It just makes it a little bit easier for the Apple TV to communicate with all your other smart home devices. The good news is, this year, Apple actually reduced the prices across the entire lineup for the Apple TVs. So you can get the 64 gig Wi-Fi model for only $129. If you spring the extra $20 to $149, you get the 128 gig Ethernet model. The Siri remote is really nice. It's got this nice thickness and weight to it. It's made out of recycled aluminum. And this year, Apple finally changed it to USB-C. It has a trackpad that you can use, or you can turn that off if you don't want to use the trackpad. And it's got a mic button you can use to trigger Siri, or you can also use that to dictate text in search boxes. For example, if you're searching something on Netflix, instead of typing it in character by character, you can just hit the mic button on the Siri remote and then search it that way. Although we know Siri isn't the most useful voice assistant out there, on the Apple TV, it's actually pretty helpful. You can ask her to rewind 10 to 15 seconds of a show or movie in case you didn't hear something that was said, or you can obviously ask her to do basic things like checking the weather or adding events to your calendar as well. The one thing I wish Apple would have done this year is added that U1 chip to the Siri remote. That's the same chip that's in the AirPods and the AirTags that allow for precision tracking using the Find My app. Although I haven't personally lost the Siri remote yet, that seems to be the biggest complaint online, is that people lose their remote, and it's pretty difficult to find since it's pretty small as well. If it's too difficult for Apple to add the U1 chip, I wish they would have at least added a speaker to the Siri remote so you can use the Find My app to trigger a sound on the Siri remote in case it slips between your couch or somewhere in the dark and you don't see it. The great thing is, even if you lose your Siri remote, you can even use your iPhone as a remote for the Apple TV, or you can also use an Apple Watch. I just don't have one to try that out. Quick side note, I'm editing this video right now. I forgot to mention that the Apple TV doesn't come with an HDMI cable. So if you don't have spare ones lying around, then you're gonna have to go out and buy one. Let's talk about the TV operating system. This is honestly one of the main reasons I got the Apple TV, because my LG C1 just doesn't seem to have the smoothest browsing experience. The Apple TV, on the other hand, uses the A15 Bionic, which by the way is absolutely overkill, but it just really helps it to zip through apps. There's no lag or stutter, and it just works well. The layout's actually very similar to an iPhone, which I think is a good thing. It's really clean, simple, and minimal. You have a dock on the top that houses your most used apps, and it uses these apps to also give you suggestions for Watch Now and what's up next. You can also press and hold on an app just to move it around, and using the same method, you can create folders as well. For example, I created this miscellaneous folder, so I can just drop in any apps that I don't use too often, and I also don't want cluttering up my main screen. You can also seamlessly switch between apps just by double tapping the home button, just like an iPhone, and you can seamlessly pick up exactly where you left off last on that app. One of the best features on this is the 4K screensavers. They just look so amazing, and having an OLED TV, it's kind of nice that I don't have to worry about burning so much anymore. If I leave the TV on and leave it idle for a while, the Apple TV will just automatically throw on this amazing screensaver, and I don't have to worry about the same bright pixel sitting in the same exact spot for too long. And one of the most useful features that I didn't even know I needed until I had it was when I'm trying to search for something or type in my email or password on an app that's asking for it, instead of using the remote to individually key in the characters, it'll prompt me on my iPhone to just type it in there, which makes it so much easier, so much faster. And that's one of the things I learned after I got the Apple TV, is that it really just kind of gets out of your way, which I think all tech really should strive for, because the only reason we really want to buy any of this tech is to make our lives a little bit easier. And the Apple TV really does that. Honestly, there's just so much more to love about the Apple TV. For example, if I turn my TV off and leave it off for a few hours, and then I come back to watch my show again. As soon as I turn the Apple TV on, it jumps right back to exactly where I left off on the app and right on that screen that I left it on. That way, I can just jump into whatever show or movie I was watching earlier without having to worry about loading times at all. One of the features that made me go with the Apple TV rather than any other streaming box out there is just the tight integration that Apple has with its other product. For example, if you have the AirPods or the AirPods Max, as soon as you turn them on and put them on, the Apple TV will prompt you to connect your headphones to the Apple TV. This is so helpful for those people that have a spouse or a neighbor and they don't want to be too loud late at night. It just is so nice to just toss on your headphones and it just seamlessly connects to the Apple TV. On top of that, if you want to go really overkill, if you have the original HomePods, you can connect those to the Apple TV as well, and that gives you Dolby Atmos sound straight out of the Apple TV. If you're someone that owns multiple other Apple products like the iPhone, MacBook, AirPods, etc., I really think the Apple TV is the only streaming box you should be considering at this point, just because of that tight integration that Apple does have with their products. It just makes it so much easier for you to connect everything. That kind of turns the Apple TV into like a hub or the center of all your devices. For example, if you have a MacBook, you can screen mirror to your TV with just one click. If you have an iPhone, you can also do that same thing with just one click. And if you have the AirPods or AirPods Max, again, one click and your headphones are connected to the Apple TV. Or if you want to go completely overkill and you have the original HomePods, you can get Dolby Atmos sound with just one click. Anyways, I highly recommend the Apple TV. And if you're someone that has other Apple products, it's even more reason to consider just the Apple TV over any other streaming box. I was on the sidelines too about a month ago until I got this. I have an LG C1, which is a pretty expensive TV. It's got all the apps I need. It's a smart TV. I can download whatever I need on there. I can even AirPlay my iPhone onto the TV. But after I got the Apple TV, I realized that I actually had been missing out on a lot. It's just so nice to zip through apps without having to worry about load times, lag, stuttering. And the clean and minimal design also means that there's no ads on your home screen as well, which just really makes a better viewing experience overall. If you're going to go for the Apple TV, I would say just spend the extra $20 and go for the Ethernet 128 gig thread support model anyway. It's because it'll future-proof you even more. If the A15 Bionic wasn't enough reason to just future-proof yourself, having 128 gigs, an Ethernet port, and thread support will make sure that you don't have to get another streaming box for years to come. All right, so that's it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed and learned something. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.